And would you join us for the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, everybody look over the consent agenda.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carried.
Well, sorry, Mr. Chairman, I missed who made the motion and seconded because I was blowing my nose.
I made the motion.
All right.
Miller and Bell.
All right. Thank you.
Are you ready to proceed?
Yes, I am.
Okay, next up, Matt Wyatt, Director of Planning and Development. Public hearing and first consideration of ordinance 2023-02, an ordinance to amend Chapter 8 zoning ordinance of Pottawatomie County, Iowa Code, and setting date of second consideration. Got a motion? And second to open public hearing. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Roll call.
Oh, excuse me, I'm sorry. Roll call.
Chairman Shea,
Aye.
I'm not the only one that makes mistakes. Supervisors Jorgensen.
Yes.
Miller.
Yes.
Bell. Wickman. Aye.
Okay. Matt, you got anything to?
Yes, so this is a continuation. We had our study session held on this, the fermented beverage production facility and fermented beverage production facility on farm. Code changes that would affect what is currently our winery section of the zoning ordinance. And we kind of went through that in detail last week. So I don't know if you want to run back through that today. But just to kind of add to it, you know, we've had a winery section in the zoning ordinance for over 20 years. It's worked really well for Pottawatomie County. And this would just bring up the date to where we get a lot of questions about distilleries, breweries, cideries, and wineries can all now be included into that piece of it. Because every one of those activities does have an ag component where you can produce some portion of that on a farm, and Planning Commission's recommendation was to approve that. So I'll leave it to you all now to decide.
Anybody want to speak?
In favor?
In opposition or?
In favor or opposed?
I'll speak in opposed.
Okay.
Do I stand up?
Would you come up to the podium?
I'd like your name and address too. Slowly.
No. I'm speaking.
Good morning.
Morning.
I'm Sarah Simmons and I currently reside at 1403 Oak Park Lane in Council Bluffs, 51503.
Okay,
And
thank you.
anything else? Sorry. Recently, we purchased a lot that would be next to where this would go. It's the lot 3, west lot 4. Sorry. We went under contract in November of 22 and closed earlier this year in January of 2023. Putting a distillery on this property would have a direct impact, of course, on our lot, as we've purchased it as a residential acreage outside the city. As far as it goes, my understanding is this is just in regards to adding fermented beverage to the code.
Mhm.
I see that as shouldn't be in a rural residential area. It's more of a commercial. Should be more in a commercial area. And it obviously directly affects the 9 lots that are directly surrounding where this would be.
Okay, this is really for the ordinance on this one. not
Okay.
that particular venue or anything.
Well, she
Okay.
is speaking on the ordinance.
Okay,
And I think that. In
I was
that
just
one-
reading the agenda and like everything that's included in the application, there was all of those things,
Mhm.
like the dog park and all of that included. So I want to make sure that I oppose that as well. I bring that up, that we're against that now. I don't know if that will come up later on as well. But as far as the fermented beverage goes, the difference for me personally between like a winery and a fermented beverage is the winery, everything's on the land, right? You use the land to make it the winery, it's tours and stuff like that. I see that very small like venue. Fermented beverage, I guess my concern is one, a lot of thing that goes into a fermented beverage isn't from the agricultural land itself. You have to bring that in. I understand there's some components like fruit and stuff that you can put on the land, but it's more in how big does that get? Is there guidelines in place to make sure that doesn't get too big? Obviously the noise component of it, how many cars are gonna be driving on the road, because the road is not a county state highway, it's not a very wide road, so it'd be a lot more cars going up and right directly in front of our residential lots, so
Okay.
that's our main concern, there. And then when we purchased the lot, obviously, we had no idea this was happening, so we were told that it was just gonna be a one residence back in that lot, and that's it. We were never told this was ever happening, so, from our standpoint, this is a direct shock to
Okay.
us as.
questions? Thank you. Anyone else for or against?
Name and address and all that.
Yes.
Cole Casson, currently residing at 105 Sunset Drive, Underwood, Iowa, 51576. Kind of in the same boat. We were the first to purchase a lot. I think we are West 3, and we are going to be directly in front of that proposed distillery, which is on lot 2, I believe. Easement that goes right past our property. We were told it was a driveway. If all this goes in, that would be obviously much more than just a driveway. But pretty much all the same points that Sarah just pointed out. You know, we'd be directly affected by that, all of that going onto that property. And the whole point of us kind of buying land out in the country is to kind of get away from that. So I just want to oppose that and put that out there now.
Okay,
That's pretty much all I got.
thank you. Come on up.
My name is Keith Simmons. I'm Sarah's husband. I live at 1403 Oak Park Lane in Council Bluffs, 51503. I want to reiterate that this is more of a commercial facility than it is an ag facility. She's not going to be producing sugar there to make her rum or this distillery or any distilleries in the county, right? This is a commercial facility. It's for production of a product. She's not growing corn, she's not growing beans, she's not producing cattle or chickens, eggs, or anything like this. If that crossing that Cole was talking about, I guarantee that's not permitted with the Corps of Engineers. And they would permit that as a commercial crossing if that's a distillery. So I don't know how the county is looking at that as ag when the federal agency is going to look at that as commercial. So that's what I want to say.
Okay, thank you.
I know we're actually here to talk about the ordinance of whether or not Pot County should or should not have distilleries, not my specific project as
Name and
stated.
address,
Oh,
please.
sorry. Thought everybody knows, Melvin.
Even if I did, I wouldn't.
Name is Doreen Blakely. I currently reside at 18389 Sunnydale Road, Council Bluffs,
Okay.
51503. I own Matriarch LLC, which is a distillery currently located in Pottawatomie County on a little over than 1 acre off of Highway 6. We are a small batch distillery. Indicates that we make less than 100,000 gallons per year based on
the federal guidelines of the TTB. So we are a small batch. We are, our actual facility is a room of 24 by 24 square feet with a small adjacent warehouse next to it, which is currently housing our aging products. Because our building is limited to size and location, when I was able to acquire the land I've owned out on 205th Street since '96, as a solution to be able to find an ADA compliant bathroom for my project, then I isolated property along 205th Street, which is a bituminous road, for sale of those lots, because I needed to be able to raise the money for the actual purchase of the property from my ex-husband. Of which time, when that acreage was designed, there is 5 parcels along the frontage road equaling about 8 acres. The remaining 40 acres between those lots and the proposed any operation is separated not only by over 100 feet of alfalfa, or will continue to be cropland, then another approximate 100 feet by a very large creek, which has just been a culvert's just been put in to cross, and open to the flexibility of whether it goes on, because then there's 2 parcels basically behind that, all totaling about 39 acres, which is in wildlife reserve, forest, and then will be farmed as soon as the door work's done, outside of potentially just putting an outbuilding in, so I have a room for storage of my current materials that are on site right now. However, based on the proposed amendment as such, that would now be, I don't know what the outcome of that distillery would become, because it's non-conforming. There's actually no ordinances related to having a distillery there other than approved by the county. And as far as, expanding any services or that and such. So as far as the ordinances go, the new proposed wording, yes, excludes and discriminates against my actual distillery, because I make rum. The ingredients that use for rum either are sugarcane, molasses, some sugar-based. However, speaking with Matt, there was a way to tie the property to the land and the distillery, was to be able to identify, I became a beekeeper, so that I can have bees on the property, which pollinates from the crops, which make honey that I can put in my products, because I can also make meat under this fermented on farm. Honey wine is mead, and it comes from honeybees, which will be on the property. They currently have been for over a year. Unfortunately, all my hives died, but 2 more are coming at the end of, actually this weekend, next weekend. So currently, all of this kind of came up because I don't understand some of the ordinances, zoning, as to you own property, what you can and cannot do with something that you own. So over the last couple of years, learning how to survey and all those things, I became more familiar with the ordinances. My concern is if I were to have a distillery, say, in Carson, Iowa, question being, how does that distillery fall under Pot County ruling? And if it's in city limits, how can it be fermented on farm? Then would there have to be another ordinance for something, say, in city limits of Carson, Iowa? And when things are not listed in the zoning ordinances, say a venue, are they considered non-conforming, illegal? Do we get tickets? Is that government control that unless you get an okay on something, it's automatically illegal and you can get ticketed for that? Where the scope of that falls within the county. And I wasn't sure on the highlighted area what the second consideration is. And also element of question is There's currently a dog park proposed for within city limits in Council Bluffs. How that differs from having an area where dogs can run on your farm. And just for the record, 205th Street is considered a bituminous road. The driveway that goes back to those properties are adjacent to a bituminous road by code.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else for or against? Matt, do you got anything to add?
The only thing, I guess I can clarify, the second consideration, every time we do, ordinance for Potawatomi County, comes toward the board as a first consideration as a part of the process. Jurisdictionally, we do not, have codes that, our jurisdiction is a rural unincorporated area of Potawatomi County. Every community within Potawatomi County has their own rules and regulations on which they operate off of. And so, a dog park in Council Bluffs is not governed by a code that covers rural Potawatomi County. Same would be as if a distillery was in Carson. It's not covered by Potawatomi County code, it's the city's code who would govern that organization.
Okay.
As I look at this ordinance, and I spent some time looking at it, it is nowhere close ready for prime time. I think if we're going to consider a distillery part of this ordinance, we need to look at the whole ordinance again. Just to the distillery side of the ordinance, not everything else that's in there. How many acres can constitute a farm? How many?
I believe it's 20, isn't it?
I don't
No,
know.
it depends on who you're talking to. If you talk to the assessor, it's one thing. If you talk to the auditor, it's 10.
So I
It's
think
15.
that, I think
USDA says 40.
I think that needs to have some sort of
Definition.
representation in this ordinance as well. I think that we need to take, I would like to see us take a look at the hard surfaced road part of this ordinance as well. You know, a bituminous road is a gravel road with 3/8 of an inch of an asphalt sand mix on top of it. It's really, I hate to say it's a glorified gravel road, but pretty much that's what it is. Do we want this kind of activity on a bituminous road, which is seal coat? Or is it better off of a highway with better access? I think that we need to address the location or where these things, a distillery could be considered to be placed. Is it behind 9 rural residential lots? Is that the best place for it? Or is it better with road frontage off of a two lane highway? I think that when we get into trying to determine, is this ag or is it commercial? Well, if it's gonna be ag, then your product needs to be grown on the field, according to the discussion. Well, you can't grow sugarcane. And again, that goes back to the number of acres that you're gonna have to have for this. If anything else goes with it, whether it be a bar, live entertainment on a stage with Smashing Pumpkins, camping, a dog park, all that stuff needs to be looked at as well. But I know we're just addressing the actual ordinance. I believe that is a commercial activity, not a rural residential ag activity. I don't think that at the present time we're ready for to move forward with this. We do not have a bona fide project that's either been presented to our planning department or presented to the board for us to even evaluate whether this ordinance is, number one, necessary, number two, appropriate. And so with that, I would make a motion that we table,
We're still close, you're still in public hearing.
oh, sorry.
Look, if you want to go out
Can't
in
make
public hearing
motions
first.
Afterwards.
May I indicate that there's a conflict of interest with Mr. Wickman's response is the fact that he should be down here opposing me as a neighbor, not as a board member.
I did not say anything about where I live, anything else.
That's why I
I'm
wanted to
talking-
point that out.
I'm talking about the ordinance. It pertains to every piece of ground outside the corporate limits of a city in Potawatomi County.
Then what's gonna happen with our current wineries?
They're already in the code.
Okay,
I'll make a motion to close.
is that it? Everybody done? Motion to close. Anybody second?
Second.
Okay. Melvin, please do a roll call.
Chairman Shea,
Aye.
Supervisors Wickman,
Aye.
Bell, Miller,
Aye.
and Jorgensen.
Aye.
Okay.
Okay.
Now Supervisor Shea, I'd like to make a motion that we table this
Yeah.
ordinance specifically to distilleries until we can get some of these questions answered. Even the person speaking in favor of this ordinance says she had some issues with some of the language in the ordinance. I just don't think we're ready. So I want to put this off, and then we'll work with Matt, work with the applicant, see if there's some things that could even be addressed to bring this back to the board for approval. I want to go on record, say I'm not opposed to a distillery. So I think it's something that the board should take a look at. We're not in a rush here. We don't have a project to evaluate. I just think that we need to take a little more time and really see what's in it and what would make this a better ordinance than what we have right now.
So point of clarification, you want to table the entire ordinance, not just specific for distilleries, but for
Well-
breweries as well. We're not going ahead with,
We had a public hearing to amend the ordinance.
to include breweries and cideries and distilleries. And you just mentioned that you wanted to table it for distilleries. I was just asking for clarification.
Yeah,
if
I'll
we're-
make it for all of them.
Okay, so we're holding off on the whole ordinance change. Okay.
I myself would like to get a better understanding of the issues on both sides of the fence. And one of those things that I'd be willing to do with those who have property and looking to, to do things with their property, I would like to come out. And then you show me what you want to do, you show me what's there, and also your neighbors, have you contacted your neighbors at some point, and whatever you're wanting to do, I want to get a better understanding of what's there and what I can do to help. I was elected to help the constituents of Potawatomi County. I'm not elected here to dictate to the constituents of Potawatomi County. Okay, that's me. And also, if you're a property owner, I have a lot of respect for individual property owners. That's me. So this is where I'm at. I understand both sides as it is right now. We do have to have, some kind of a controlling aspect of a lot of this. But I need to have a better understanding on your side too. So my card, I'll give you my card. If you want to see me later, I'll give you my card and my contact information. I will certainly come out and see what's there. I need a better understanding what you want to do. Okay, that's me. All right.
Thank you.
Good.
What, is there the ability to figure out what constitutes a farm? Is that something that is?
There is a lot of case law surrounding that in the state of Iowa that I can forward to you if you'd like. But with being, it's in Iowa, it's not necessarily a financial consideration. It is not necessarily the size of the parcel that's a consideration. You have to look at it as to whether or not the individuals and land involved are primarily adapted to agriculture.
So it's a case-by-case basis.
It is very much, and so there are people who will come in and apply for an ag exemption, and they submit their Schedule F from their taxes and just say show you that they're a farmer. There's other individuals, maybe it's a young person who's starting out, they may only own 4 or 5 acres of ground, but they may come in and supply you land leases showing that, I'll at least 100 acres of ground that I'm just starting farmer, and then they'll write up a letter to go with it. We've accepted those pieces before, but we're not allowed to look strictly at to say, is that a 35 acre chunk of ground, does that constitute a farm? Or we're also not allowed to look at what the exact amounts of money are that come off of it. So, but I can provide that to you.
In reviewing other, codes, there was no definitions of farms in any of those other codes that were, when you were looking at distilleries and what were those other?
The definition of a farm, it's in the code, it's just not in this edited version on the agenda. So the word on farm was added, but the definition's not in here.
Okay, if we table it, I don't need a motion, do we?
We've got a motion on the floor to postpone.
To table it or postpone?
I don't know, whatever.
Because I got a motion, anybody want to second it?
I'll second it with the indication that we evaluate it, we study it, we put the parties together so we can create an ordinance that will be acceptable to all, or to the majority.
Okay. Motion and a second to table this for further study. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carried. Okay.
I got some cards up here with my personal cell phone number on the back. If anybody wants to come up and grab it, that's fine.
Doreen, do you come in on 205th Street or that other road there, the Honeysuckle?
No, it's off of 205th Street.
Okay.
Yeah, we're gonna find some.
Oh, yeah, I forgot.
Okay. Thank you. All right, moving on. Matt Wyatt, Director of Planning and Development, Maria Seek, Administrator, Public Health. Discussion and a decision to approve and sign proclamation designating month of May 2023 as Mental Health Awareness Month.
Turn it over to Maria.
Maria.
So, good morning. We have two partners with this, and Suzanne with Mental Health Disability Services was unable to make it here today, but Claudia is here. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Claudia Granillo. I work for the Wellbeing Partners. We're a nonprofit over in Omaha, so in Potawatomi, Sarpy County. Thank you for doing this.
Yeah.
Public Health works with the Wellbeing Partners and the Regional Health Council of Douglas, Sarpy, Cass counties, and Omaha. And we do the community health needs assessment and put together the health improvement plan for a regional health improvement plan. This is, with that piece, the highest concern for residents was mental health. We're currently working on the regional health improvement plan and just making some edits to it, and we hope to have that for you in the next couple of months. But in the meantime, I wanted to pass out our community health improvement plan for Potawatomi County.
Okay. Maria,
Yes.
do you want to read this
Sure.
or you want me to?
Would you read it?
Thanks. I need to help. Yeah. Okay. Okay, I'll read this proclamation. Mental Health Awareness Month, May 2023. Whereas each year millions of Americans face the reality of living with mental illness, and Mental Health Awareness Month is observed annually in May to increase understanding of mental health and its impact on individuals and communities. Whereas the Douglas County Health Department, Pottawatomie County Division of Public Health, Sarpy, Cass Health Department, and the Wellbeing Partners formed the Regional Health Council, RHC, and adopted a regional approach to public health issues affecting our residents as prioritized and identified by the Community Health Assessment data. Whereas the Southwest Iowa Mental Health and Disability Service Region collaborates with the Regional Health Council to fulfill their mission to provide a responsive and welcoming system of support for overall mental wellness. Whereas the RHC developed the What Make Us campaign to end mental health stigma, along with community partners together pledged to increase awareness and understanding of mental health stigma. Whereas over half the people across Cass, Douglas, Sarpy, and Pottawatomie counties have experienced a mental health condition, and about 40% report they hide this from friends and family. Whereas reducing the stigma of mental health encourages people to ask for support and seek help when needed. Whereas we acknowledge the need for appropriate and accessible mental health resources and pledge to amplify existing resources in our area. Whereas with treatment, those with mental health conditions can recover and lead full and productive lives. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Pottawatomie County Board of Supervisors does hereby declare May 2023 as Mental Health Awareness Month and encourages all citizens, community agencies, organizations, businesses, and schools within Pottawatomie County to increase awareness and understanding of mental health, the steps that our citizens can take to protect their mental health, and the need for appropriate, accessible services and support for all people with mental health conditions and their family members. Got a motion to approve?
No.
Second.
Okay. Melvin, would you do a roll call, please?
All right, Chairman Shea,
Aye.
Supervisors Jorgensen,
Aye.
Belt,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Whitman.
Aye.
Motion carried. Good. Thank you, Maria.
Thank you. Could we get a picture with you at some point?
We can do it right now, so we can move on. Come on up. We'll stand up behind you. Might have to move in a little, unless you got a wide angle.
I don't want to be in front of Scott Bill.
You don't mind me getting in your bubble for a minute?
Good morning.
Thank you
No
so
cover,
much.
no cover.
Walk out, Susan, if I stand there.
Oh, let's see. Oh, you guys lined up good. Oh, just
Cool.
think Scott's there.
Scott,
Ready?
you gotta go one way or
Scott,
the
peek
other.
over to the left a little bit, or right. There we go. 1, 2, 3. Then Jeff, if you could take a couple steps to the right. I'm sorry.
This way?
Yes.
Left.
All right, there you go. How's that sound?
There you go.
You don't walk left.
Ready? 1, 2, 3. Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Brittany.
Thanks, Maria.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, Tina John Rasmussen. Discussion under decision to approve and authorize boards to sign entry-level driver training grant agreement. Want to tell us a little about it?
Yeah, so we applied for the Iowa Workforce Development Entry-Level Driver Training Grant Program. And what that's going to enable us to do is create an in-house CDL program. So if any of our current employees want to upgrade from a Class B to Class A, or get any endorsements, they have to now go through a entry-level training program. And so we'll be able to provide that training, so then they can go do the upgrade. The other perk to it is if we do get to a point of hiring and we're just not getting candidates with the CDL, we can offer that training in-house, bring them on, and provide that training. from our current secondary road staff. And then long-term, once we get it up and running, we would like to offer it to some of the rural communities or cities that maybe don't have their own program or can't afford it, because it is a pretty hefty expense just to get through that training. So this grant is for $35,000, and it's gonna help put some of our staff through the train-the-trainer program, get the materials for it, and kind of just get that up and going.
How much money did you say that was?
35,000.
Wow.
Is it matching?
Nope. Just reimburse them. We have to submit every quarter any expenses we've had up until that point.
I'll move that for you, Brian.
Okay,
Second.
motion and a second to approve. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay.
Thanks, Tina, for that.
Okay, next up, approve and authorize the board to sign resolution number 31, 2023, entitled Resolution Updating Procurement Policy Addendum.
Okay, so this is just to change some of the wording. When we applied for this grant, it was at first rejected because we applied as Potawatomi County, but the way that Potawatomi County is registered on SAMS.gov is County of Potawatomi. So we have to get the procurement policy to reflect County of Potawatomi in order to move forward on this grant. And I would suspect that's gonna be the case with any other federal grants that are using that SAMS.gov number.
Okay,
So that's all that piece is for.
so that's what that needs.
I'll move that for you too, Brian.
Okay, Tim, cool,
I'll second that.
all right.
Tina, on SAMS.gov, you primarily use that for grant opportunities?
Yeah, so it was formerly the DUNS number, and it's, I mean, any department that's applying for federal grants will use that because it's tied to the federal ID number as well.
The auditor should have a SAM's number.
It's the same.
Mitch
We all
got it
use
for the ARPA funding.
It's the same for all the whole county, right?
Yeah, it's actually a UEI now, unique identifier number. They actually don't even call it a SAM's number anymore. They still call it SAM's.
Oh, we changed it again?
Yeah.
Got a motion and a second for resolution 31, 2023. All in favor? Oh, let's see, wait a minute. We gotta do roll call, don't we? Melvin, please do a roll call.
Okay, Chairman Shea,
Aye.
Supervisors Belt, Rickman, Miller,
Aye.
Jorgensen.
Aye.
Okay, motion carried. Okay, next up, set public bid opening for project number L-2023, RCB-73-78 on May 16th at 10 a.m.
Okay, so this is for the box culvert in Carson on 400th Street. And this is just to set the time for May 16th at 10 a.m. John will come open the bids in front of the board, and currently there are 6 plan holders on that project.
Okay.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
So this is a local bid, not a state bid then, right, Tina?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That's correct.
All right. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carried. Okay, thanks, Tina. Okay, next up, Sam Markfeld, Captain, Communications Center. Discussion and or decision to approve and authorize the hiring of a previous dispatcher at a step 3 on the 301 pay scale. Sam, you're up.
All right, thank you. Yes, we had a former employee that left in good standing. She is applied to come back, and I'd like to start her at a rate that would be comparable to her training that she's already received, and she'd be able to get started. We plan on starting her Saturday, but I want the rate of pay to be comparable to her skill set that she already has. I would like to mention though that in your packets, there is an error on this, it's still step 3. Your packet is representing or reflecting step 3 for the July 2023 new contract. It should be step 3 of our current contract, and so we'll get that change made and up to Jeanette.
How long has she been gone, Sam?
Just over a year. Yep. She was employed for almost 4 years. Left to try a different business and her personal business, and now she's requesting to come back.
Okay,
So that puts you at how many then? Or will put you at?
I have 2 in the background right now.
Right.
She will be the 3rd, and then I'll still need to hire 3 more after those 3 advance to
Right.
some training, so.
Okay. So making some headway.
Working on it. Yep.
Thank you.
Sam, did we do an exit interview when she left?
That was, I can't say specifically, Mr. Anderson was still here at that time, so I don't know if that was offered at the time.
Did she go to another county, another?
No, she started her own business.
I'll make the motion to approve.
okay.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to approve the pay scale at the current contract. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carried. Good, Sam. Good job. I just want to mention, if you want to speak at the public comments, you need to sign up on the board or on the sheet over there. I don't know if anybody did that or not, so. Of course you did. No, no. Okay, next up, Jana Lemrick, Director of Human Resources. Discussion and decision to approve and authorize board to sign memorandum of understanding between Pottawatomie County and the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, Local 2364-911 agreement for the employees of the Pottawatomie County Communications Center. 12-hour shifts effective July 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2025.
This is the current schedule that they're in right now, and their schedule is held in the MOU, which expires June 30th of this year. So I think the board, has had some conversations with Sam last week. We had this on the agenda once before and said to wait, and so now it's back on the agenda again for a July 1st start, so that they know what their schedules are,
Okay.
and then making it match the dates of the union contract, but it's still held in the MOU.
Okay.
So there's nothing new or different about this. This is what they're doing today.
What,
The MOU is through the end of July, right?
The one that we have today
Right.
is just through the end of June.
Or excuse me, end of June.
Correct.
So this one is making it effective July 1st, or is this not? This is in the MOU.
So this MOU is making it effective July 1st, so it'll just continue. Because it ends
But
June.
it's still in an MOU.
Yes.
But they could come back and change it after July or June. 'Cause they
You
were
have
gonna
to approve it.
Well, they were gonna reevaluate at the end of June, I thought.
The
'Cause they did it
911.
for 6 months, right?
Yes, but that was put in place, the board wanted it reviewed after 6 months. They want it to continue, and which is why this is coming forward today. The union would like this to continue as is, no changes, no further review. They want it to be continuous starting in July.
why can't, are you done, Scott?
Yeah, but we could review it in July or June.
Why don't, we consider this a 1-year deal, Jana, instead of 2?
That would be up to the board. I mean, you can change that date if you want to.
other contract is good through 2025 with a wage reopener next year, and so I'm simply making the dates the same so that we're just, because their other MOU goes through 2025, their contract goes through 2025. If you would like it to only be 1 year, then that can be your recommendation, and I can take that back to the union.
Well, if we sign on to a 2-year agreement and the overtime is absolutely destroying their budget and costing us $100,000 or more, we're in it for 2 years. I'm not, I would be in favor of a 1-year plan. We haven't even had a 6-month review of this yet.
Well, and, because Sam was here, was that last week? Talking about some of the information, and so that's as close as we have right now, obviously, right? I mean, if the board's pleasure is only 1 year, I can take that back to the union. I mean, it is an MOU, so if we kept it at 2 years, it is a legally binding document. If for some reason the dollars were coming out in a terrible way, we could ask the union and present that we need to reopen this and make some changes.
Tim,
I mean, they are reasonable.
But they could say no.
They could say no, but I would challenge Matt Wilbur to help us with that, if that would be the case. How would we work through that?
If everything pans out okay with this scheduling, I'm perfectly fine doing it forever if that's what they want. But we don't know.
What do you think we ought to do, Janet?
I do have a question. Could we not go through some type of review, a 6-month review, before we do anything, take any action on this? I mean, would that be a possibility?
The employees want to start setting up their time off, their vacations, that kind of stuff, so we need to give them enough time where they can do that.
All right.
I agree with that.
And again, I want to reiterate that I don't have an issue with a 12-hour schedule. But let's take a look at it after a year. Where are we? We don't even know where we're at after 6 months.
So if we do 1 year, we can review. If we do 2 years, it doesn't matter if we review, correct?
I mean, you can still review, and then we can work legally to get it open so that we can make some changes. It's not impossible. Just because it's a legally binding document doesn't mean that it would be impossible. And I'm sure, Sam doesn't want his budget to implode, and the union would understand if, we're having major financial issues because of overtime. I mean, so far it hasn't caused that. We were worried that it was going to. So far it hasn't, based on what Sam presented last week. We are still new in it. I definitely understand that. We don't have a full year into it. The union members have already established all of their vacations and such for the rest of this calendar year, with the understanding that the 12-hour schedule, with the hopes that this 12-hour schedule was going to continue, because they do that, I think late fall is when they are to pick everything for the next year. So, I mean, and ideally, they would really like this to run through December, if possible, because then it coincides with when they choose their time off, but that doesn't coincide with the dates of the union contract, because the union contract goes fiscal. So, either way, I mean, if you want to make it for 1 year until June 30th of 2024, then we continue to evaluate, hoping that, because if, let's say July 1st, 2024, you want to make changes, they already chose all their time off. And so that would be a huge process to work through. And so they just want to know.
When would we do a review of this? Can we do that within the next few months and just kind of get an update on how things are working for them?
I mean, I think you could ask Sam for data as often as you would like, if you wanted every 90 days, every 60 days, every 6 months, whatever you and Sam would work out on that.
It sounds like we're on the right track down there. It really does.
It does.
And I've been down there, and the older employees probably don't care for it as much as the newer employees.
Yeah, some of our, employees that have been there and have worked 8-hour
Correct.
shifts for almost their entire career maybe don't love it, but I did ask the union, what's the temperature of this, and everybody is still liking it and enjoying it. So they want to continue with it, and I know we were worried about it at first, we really
Yes.
were. But it hasn't increased cost based on the data that Sam presented last week. So I would recommend that we approve it,
In
2 years or 1?
whichever the board would like. I can get on board with either.
when we had discussions with, Jamie, she said that, when we originally set up this schedule, she said that a 6-month review really isn't even enough to tell us where we're at.
Mm-hmm.
They like the schedule. I'm okay with moving forward with the schedule. I'd like to see us do it for a year and do a review. And I don't have, I mean, to tell you, I really don't. I don't have any issues with the 12-hour schedule. I just think that we owe it
Right.
to have a review.
Tim, I agree with you.
And then if everything is working fine like I anticipate it to be, we'll rock on with it in January. If in January or for next,
Well, if you
We
if
can
you
amend
review
the
it,
MOU, right?
sorry, Scott, what
We
did you
could then amend the MOU,
You
or
can,
ask them to amend it.
we can ask them to amend it, right?
If
And
we
what
sh-
Jamie, the union president was referencing, right, we'd like to see a whole year of all of the holidays, what happens in the summer when people are on vacations and such, and a whole year to see hiring and how training increased costs, right? Cause Sam mentioned that last week, training increases over time, so let's get a whole year. So you could review in January with cause this schedule started this January 1st of 2023. You could review in January, give Sam some time to pull together after December 31st, whatever data you want him to pull together. Review in January, and if you approve this for 1 year and only have a go through June 30th of 2024, then February, March, you can determine, are we going to continue that or do we need to make some changes so that they have some notice.
I would like to see us do a review like in November or December before we get into budgets.
Oh,
So we have a little more
sure,
knowledge on our end.
yeah. Maybe you
Because
could
once
do
we
it,
get into budget, you know how that is.
yeah, what's unfortunate though is then we miss Thanksgiving, Christmas,
Oh.
New Year's holiday. But you could do both. You could review in November and then again
Maybe in
in
December we do it.
January. December,
It'd be darn close to a year and
yeah, it'd be the closest you could get to once you started budgets.
before we start budget.
Yeah.
Well, let's
Yeah.
just start a quarterly process, a quarterly summary report that Sam could send to us after each quarter end. So,
I have talked to him about sending us updates and he worked on that one and said he'd keep them coming.
okay, because then if we make sure that he's putting into the report exactly what we need to evaluate for budget consideration,
Yeah.
then it won't be a
It shouldn't
surprise.
be a shock or a surprise when you get right.
Right.
If the board comes up with some sort of quarterly questions similar to what you asked Sam last week, I'm sure he would be happy to provide that to you, whether you wanted him to present or just email it to you and then present if you had questions or something, I'm sure he would be happy.
How long has that schedule been in place? As it is right now?
January.
Since
Three.
January?
3 months and 2 days.
Yeah, just since
Okay.
January.
Yeah.
4 months and 2 days.
So I really think the leadership down there has changed that whole,
They've talked, for years, they've talked about going to a
Operating.
12-hour shift, and then leadership changes did occur, and then they were able to move forward with this 12-hour shift.
You've done a
The
good job
employees
with
did
it.
want this, they wanted this 12-hour shift.
okay,
I'll make a motion, Chairman
Okay.
Shea, that we make that 12-hour shift effective July 1st, 2023 through June 30, 2024. And we'll review in no later than February of 2020.
well, I'd like to see us do it in December if we could. So
it might take till January, February to get the overtime numbers and all that good stuff, so.
Okay,
But we
motion
can do
by
it whenever we want to.
Wickman.
Jana, one more edit.
Absolutely.
The very last line, that, section 3, where it talks about the premium overtime wage listed in Article 8, Section 6. If you could just add what source document you're referring to there.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
Sorry to interrupt.
Need a second.
I'll second.
Okay,
So
got a
this is
motion and
gonna
a
come
second.
back to us again then?
Yes, with corrected dates for you to sign.
Yeah, but I mean, with their approval,
Yes.
okay.
Okay, got a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? And just so we're in agreement here, it goes to June 30th, 2024.
That's what the motion said, yes.
Okay, let's do some updates on our committee meetings. Jeff, you got any?
Well, not necessarily committee meetings, but Brian and I were out to Walnut, Iowa, Thursday night and talked to the city council. We had a very good meeting. I think we're gonna be looking at doing some things to help Walnut out to save and preserve their brick infrastructure Main Street. So that's what we're gonna be working on here in the next couple of weeks and see if we can't get something done. Appreciate John Rasmussen's help on that. The
Yes.
county engineer certainly was a great asset to have out there too, so.
Susan?
Brian and I met with some representatives from Summit Carbon Solutions and got some questions answered, which was very good conversation. I attended the 4th Judicial District Conference at the MAC. We had the VA Commissioners Retreat last Tuesday, or Wednesday. I attended the 712 Initiative meeting and the SWEPCO meeting.
Okay, I went to WIDA last Monday. Bike trail on Tuesday, met with you for Summit Carbon Solutions. They answered our questions pretty good, didn't they? We done the VA Commission up, Summit up at Hitchcock. And then, let's see, I met with Steve Winchell on some jail things, went out to Walnut. Then Friday dropped down to the National Crime Victim Units Week deal. It was in Bayless Park, so I stopped in there. And that's it for that week. Scott?
The VA Commission, retreat, and then 4th Judicial tomorrow. I think that was it.
Okay.
No comment.
Okay. All right. Public comments. Anyone signed up?
Yes, you have to.
Thanks, Tina.
She scratched off. She scratched their names off.
Did they both leave?
Kimberly, well, they scratched their name out. Kimberly and Adam Schneekloff.
I think they all took off.
They're on Homestead Avenue.
Mhm.
I think.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Right.
Adjourn.